and my mother's father.
Ooh.
So, yeah, I can do that. So to begin, my father is, I grew up in a Christian family. I guess maybe I'll start with my grandparents. So my father's father, his name was Robert, and he was the son of a farmer, and he had 4 brothers and 1 sister.
Oh,
So a
farmer.
lot of boys in the family. And he grew up just a hard worker, driving trucks and working on the farm.
Wow.
And he was drafted to fight in World War II, and he was called to the Pacific. So he spent time in Asia. He was a radio operator, and but before he was drafted, he married my grandmother, and they had 1 boy. So he had to leave his wife and his son behind to go and to help with the war in the Pacific after Pearl Harbor. So he spent time in Indonesia and Australia, and then I think went up through Guam on the way to the end of the war. Thankfully, he was not ever injured, and he made it back. And then, but when I grew up, I remember him as a hard worker. We went to the same small church, and he was a leader at the church, and also my father was becoming a leader at the church. And my grandfather, he was friends with someone at a Christian radio station. So once a week, the radio station would invite him to come and to share a sermon, to share a message on the radio. So I grew up hearing my grandfather on the radio once a week. So, and also he would teach Sunday school, and my father would also teach Sunday school. So there was just a heritage, a legacy being built of teaching and studying God's word and being willing to share with others in the church and being a leader. So I was very thankful for my grandfather. I was more, I'm more connected with my mother's father. So on the other side, my mother's father, he was also a World War II veteran. He went, but he was a chaplain's assistant, and he played the piano so that he didn't have to carry a gun. Instead, he played the piano as the chaplain assistant.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, and he went to Europe, so he helped to encourage soldiers in Germany as they were ending the war. He went, I think, through France and into Germany at the end of the war, encouraging the soldiers as they occupied Germany when the war finished. So when he came back, he also was invited once a week in his city to teach a Bible lesson. So both of my grandfathers were not pastors, but they were leaders in their churches, and they had opportunities to use the radio and technology to share the gospel. So I was thankful for that heritage. And then my father, as I grew up, he taught Sunday school, and whenever the pastor would be gone for vacation or for some reason, my father would usually be the one to share the message when the pastor was not there. So I got to hear my father maybe 2 or 3 times a year preaching for our church. Also, my father would help lead the singing. When I was a child, the singing was just all hymn books, and everybody would stand, and only piano and voices. And every song was a hymn song. And so I grew up learning and loving all of the traditional hymns, and that seemed very normal to me. And then as I became older, realized, oh, there's other kinds of songs, and that's when more modern worship was just starting to develop. So my father, though, he would be the one to help lead the singing for our church because he was a good singer, and so I learned that from him. But I think one of the most important lessons I learned from all of my father and my grandfather, they were very sincere, and they always spoke the truth, and they didn't tend to speak vainly, but they would try to always speak about what is important and what matters. And so I really valued that from my father. My father was, I saw him as my hero, as someone to look up to. And you know, as I've gotten older, you know, we look at the generations behind us, and sometimes it's tempting or easy to find faults or to be critical of the past. But I think sometimes we want to, especially if we're going through a problem or a hard time, we want to put the responsibility maybe on something in our past. And I'm learning that's not very fair, that it's better to say to I believe our parents loved us, and they did the best that they could. And in the same way, we want our children to look back at us with grace and with mercy when we fall short. Because as parents, we will fall short. We want to do our best for our kids, but sometimes we miss the mark. Sometimes we make mistakes. And so we want to give our parents the same grace that we would want from our children. And I think if we let grace be our guiding rule, it will really help us. So that's a little bit about my father and my grandparents. One more story about my grandfather. When I was a boy, my mother's father, he lived in the city. I lived far away in the countryside. So my mother came from the city. My father came from the farm. But we lived on the farm. So every summer, when there was no school, we would go with my mom to the city to spend time with my grandparents, the parents of my mother. And my grandfather was a very energetic man. Even in his old age, he was very energetic. And he had lots of energy, and he would take us grandkids with him, and we would go in his car. He would drive us around, and everywhere he went, he would take us with him. And every time we'd go to a store, or his hobby was to try to find things that other people threw away, and try to find things of value that other people had thrown away. So he would look in the garbage. He would go to secondhand stores, trying to find something valuable that other people had thrown away. It was just a hobby. He didn't need to. He had enough money, but it was a hobby that he, I think, picked up from growing up in a poor family. He grew up in the Depression in America, and so he's always looking for some hidden treasure. So while we were shopping or at a store of like a secondhand store where they're selling used things and broken things, as we're leaving a store or a grocery store, he would always ask the person he was the cashier at the checkout, the person working, he would ask them, "Where is your final home?" And they would say, "Well, that's a strange question." But they would say, well, "Maybe I will move to the countryside, or maybe I will move to this city or that city." And I said, "No, where's your final home?"
Final home.
Yeah. And he was asking them, "Where will you go when you die?" but he would have this conversation, and then after they would answer, well, I don't know where I'll go. He would always tell them about Jesus and his love. And so I got to see my grandfather witnessing to strangers and being friendly and caring about strangers. And many times we would be late for our next meeting because my grandfather was busy telling someone about Jesus. So that was a story I remember, and that he inspired me to want to become a missionary and to share the gospel.
아멘.
Wow.
자, 요렇게 합시다. Wonderful story about your family. As a Christian family, I'm also very envy or blessed. Anyway, different. I never seen my grandpa. Very in Korean world all die. Also, my father become orphan when he was 17 years old. Also, I now, but my father is the grandfather for my children. Thank God. And you are talking about your mother side, father side, about the grandpa. The wonderful story. 여러분들이 이해한 거, what you understand, what you don't understand. 이 트레이싱이 임포턴이거든요. 여기서 들은 단어 중에 내가 지금 기억하고 있는 단어가 뭐가 있는가, 그 단어를 중심으로 이제 물어보는 거예요. 서동필 목사님, 건진 거, 이제 뭐 낚시한 거, 내가 지금 들은 거 머릿속에 기억나는 거, 이제 그분의 피드백 하는 겁니다. 서동필 목사님.
Okay, I'm glad to listen your story, family story. What I remember what you say in my mind.
자, 2분으로 제한합니다. 1인당 2분.
The two things. One thing is the inheritance of faith through your grandparents. They are so faithful. They are so passionate about God. So they serve God in the church as teachers, and they preach. And also, the mother side, grandfather, he was very passionate about evangelize other people. So that all those things, your background influence your faith, I think. So you experience and then you witness your grandparents, so that your faith shaped by them. So I think you also very deep faith, deep Christian heritage, and so that you decide, you dedicate to the missionary, influencing by your grandparents. That is what I think.
아까 Jonathan said you remember that they inspired me to become missionary. 그들은 나에게 영감을 주었다. 선교사가 되래. 그때 inspire입니다. They inspired me. 그래서 결론 뭐예요? To be missionary, to become missionary. And then Pastor 서동필 said influencing. Same is it. They influenced. I am influenced by my parents to be missionary. 이렇게 그 단어로 영향을 받다, influence 해가지고 그렇게 쓸 수 있겠죠. Inspire, same expression. And then 윤태성 목사님, 아까 뭐 폴 하버드 나오잖아요. 2차 대전에 in World War II, your grandfather joined, but as a chaplain, they didn't shoot, they play piano. 이게 그 워십의 내력도 벌써 the tradition of the family as a Christian. And then 진주만도 나오잖아요. 진주만 폴 하버의 2차 대전 얘기가 많이 나오니까 우리는 역시 코리아에 머물러 있으니까 한국전 얘기밖에 없는데 저기는 다 세계대전을 얘기하잖아요. 백그라운드에. 스케일이 틀리죠? 세계대전에 참여한 얘기가 나오고, 우린 한국전 얘기 맨날 전라도 경상도 얘기를 우리 못 벗어나잖아요. 이게 재밌네. 오케이, 윤 목사님 이해한 거.
Yeah,
이게 삶을 조명하는 겁니다.
yeah, almost the same. So also, I grew up the country, and then my father is a farmer, and then my mother live in the city. So I very poor, and then when I was young, until graduate elementary, no electricity, have no electricity. So we use the kerosene fire. So I've never experienced about the electric fan and the refrigerator. And so when I think I was 6 years old, my mother for the first time brought me my grandmother to father's house, the 외할아버지, grandfather-in-law. When I woke up, that next day I slept, and the next day when I opened my eyes, I cannot see the light, too bright, and I was surprised. And I said, "Oh, why the sun is over there?" Something like that. That's why I felt that I understand the Jonathan. So like almost the same. Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
We feel that you're peaceful. Your character is peaceful because you are growing up in farm, right?
Yeah.
So always you are speaking peacefully. You are giving peace through your message to others. Peaceful heart.
That's why I was brought here the poor for by the village, so I can understand them the same. They have no electricity, so and I can tell them. That's what I am before. That's what I was before, like you. So I can understand them more than the others. So I can felt more than the other missionaries. The same with me and the young people and my youth. Yeah, so.
그리고 아까 더 표현 중에 요거 있잖아요. They spoke truth, frankly speaking. 근데 but Korean speaking indirectly. 이게 문제입니다. 우리 한국 사람의 misunderstanding. 우리는 자꾸 말을 돌려서 하고 비유로 하는데 우리 but you are speaking honestly. Are you feeling that? 그냥 편안하게 뭐 가식 없이 있는 그대로를 지난번에 설교하잖아요. 우리는 뭔가 나를 소개할 때 maybe you are introducing your sister, the husband, the baby, but Korean introducing about the ministry, not family, doing blah blah blah, a lot of things. I am building church or building. 뭔가 talking about the background. But you are talking about your family. 이게 이제 different. So who I am in the Lord, it is more important, not by other. In the eyes of the Lord, who we are, it is important. It is identity. So I believe that your identity is like peaceful and speaking honestly. So very peaceful and all we are feeling free. 자, 우리 다른 분 한번 표현해 보시죠. 듣고 질문이나 궁금한 거 우리 문철 목사님 듣고 이제 그분의 삶을 조명하는 거예요. 질문과 함께 인터뷰 훈련입니다. 남의 얘기를 피드백해서 이렇게 들은 얘기는 경청했다는 얘기잖아요. 그 사람이 쓴 언어를 한번 반복하면 더 좋고. 얼마나 많이 내가 머릿속에 남았나. 네.
I'm sorry. Today I couldn't 좀 concentration to 이렇게 heard. So I'm so very sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
네, 그
Oh.
next time
Speaking
I give a
honestly,
chance.
okay, next
네.
time you
Yeah.
concentrate. Focus on when he's speaking. It is a listening training also. Okay, thank you. You're very good talking honestly. 알리바이를 만들고 don't make alibi. Better to speak honestly. Honesty is the best policy. 자, 오건 목사님 듣고 요약한 거 한번 얘기해 보세요. 그의 라이프 스토리.
죄송해요. 제가 아직 잘 안 들려가지고요.
느낌. 이럴 때 이게 이제 통찰력. 느낌은 어떤 느낌이 와요? How do you feel with his message, with his testimony? About his character. 그분의 이 캐릭터를 한번 조명해 보세요. brother 조나단 캐릭터. 아까 아버지 상을 조명해 보는 거예요. 10가지 아버지 상에 저분은 몇 번에 들어가나?
제가 아직은 잘 안 들려가지고요.
네.
근데 그래도 하나님께서 뭔가 특별한 계획을 가지셨구나는
이게 참 언어라는 게 이렇게 재밌습니다. 그래요. 캐릭터. 네. 아니 이미지 우리 목사님의 이미지가 어떤 아버지 같아요?
그냥 제가 그 선교사님 뵀을 때
네.
좀 그냥 뭔가 계속 이렇게 같이 있고 싶은 분. 네.
intimacy, feeling intimacy in you. 그죠? 편안하죠?
네.
늘 가정에서도 자녀들 늘 함께하는 거. Maybe you are being with your family always. Feeling comfortable. Every one of us, we are feeling comfortable, feeling freedom, feeling 또 peaceful. 자, 우리 김용기 목사님, 우리 조나단 목사님 한번 뭐 하고 싶은 말 영어로 하세요. As you want, whatever you want to say. Okay? 싸가지 없는 이런 거 빼고.
Oh my God. I hear this your message. I'm thinking about this. What is thinking, and then you are. I'm thinking you are good father, and also teacher in Faith Academy. You are very good, sincere person and the peaceful person. So you are good also man. Looks at your face and then always smiling, and then I'm feeling is your similar like Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
So because but why? Because of your background, your father's side, and your mother's side, your father, and then your grandfather. And also mother side, your mother, wife, mother side is then grandfather and then grandfather. So I'm what you thinking about this year? Nearly different. My background and then your background. Yeah, so you are Christian background, Christianity's background. I'm not in Christianity's background. I'm childhood, so that I'm not this biblical thinking, mind, identity, or is I different worldly thinking is mine, and then like that, but. I'm feeling what I'm hear you say during that time. What is feeling? You are the nearly blessing because your family background to say, your father side, mother side is a background. Nearly this like that is blessing. So, I'm question is why America is blessing country, spiritual blessing and blessing country. Because of their America background is Christianity's background. I'm thinking about so that they are thinking about thinking and then attitude and then solution. They are everything is their background is Christianity. But I don't know other Korean, but I'm in my case, I always my thought and then thinking what is happen something problem. I attitude and then what is the solution, and not is sometimes biblical is a solution. So that because of my childhood, not is Christianity, it is really different in your say, and then my your background is my background in the nearly different. So the this time like that, but my next generation not is my same like that, and then nearly Christianity's background say I teach is next generation. It is all. Thank you so much.
You are improved. Your pronunciation and the expression is improved and then highly. 아니 표현력이 너무 풍부하시네요. 아유.
Sorry for I'm only
자,
doing.
다른 분 안 한 분 뭐 한 분하고 한두 분 많이 나왔죠? Friendly and he's faithful and sincere. 이 태도나 말하는 게 김범수 목사님?
예, 땡큐. talking about
한사가 말하는 것
childhood
같죠?
Canada.
Thank you. You are 5 years. 5년.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I think missionary Jonathan, very good teacher, missionary. I heard your message, and then I think your background very good. Is not your mother, your father, good Christian. You include your grandpa, grandmother
same
also.
room. Though your background is a room. Pastor Kim Yong-gi background a lot of book. You are more.
Yeah.
Okay.
I heard your message. I healing, comfortable. Because first time I heard your message, I envy you. Because I'm not Christianity in my background, my family, my father, my parents, my grandfather. Sometimes I envy you. I envy many Christian family.
부러워하다 envy하죠? 네.
Yeah, because many Christian family have true love. True Christian family have true love, true peace, true power.
Okay.
It's like I envy Christian background.
Hallelujah.
But now I not envy anymore. Include anyone, any country, include America. Because I have Christ, I have true God, true love, true power. I already have true Christ. So I have true power. Before I envy many Christian family, Christian background, but now rejoice to God, praise to God. Jesus is our strength. I true God. I have all things. God said, in Christ, all have. So today I heard your message, but I pressing to American. I pray for American, my country, and Korea, any country, especially.
이제 다음 분 합니다. 배봉현
Amen.
선교사님, 네, thank you. 배봉현 선교사님.
네, thank you for your message.
He's from Russia now, right now. He's in Russia.
I'm Russian missionary, 홍연배. I received your message very impression.
Impressed 표현할 때.
Impressed.
I'm impressed 이러면 인상 깊었다.
감명 깊었다. Impressed
with your message. Okay.
Your
Go
message, your good father and your grandparents. I was envied your Christian background, Christian generation, generation. Yes, I heard your Christian generation. I determined to my children from me Christian generation. Thank you.
Okay, good expression. 누가 안 했죠? 안 한 분, 이상주 목사님.
예, 제가 안 했습니다.
예.
Yeah, Jonathan talked about his grandfather sermon on the radio once a week. I feel so nice. Really could memorize. When I listen that story, I really envy you because my grandfather memories always get angry, even grandson. So I just really envy you.
I envy you. I have no grandfather.
Also already passed away long time ago.
아까 나한테 on air, preaching gospel on air, on TV, on radio. 어디에다 설교하다 할 때 in이 아니고 on을 씁니다. on은 이겁니다. 예, 접촉. off, on. 뭐가 위에가 아니고 not on the table와 on air 방송으로 on the word, leaning on the word, leaning on the everlasting arm. on is 이렇게 붙은 거예요. 접촉. 그래서 on air 이런 표현 부사고 오늘 잘 들으셨네. preaching also. Anytime I open, if you have your YouTube channel or whatever, 김용기 목사님 이렇게 해서 이거 다 하긴 했네.